Hey everybody, welcome to Talk to You with Thee. So my special guest today is Jo Wenberg. And for those of you who don't know her, if you've never watched Vanderpump Rules, I mean, you're not really missing out anymore because it doesn't exist. And I'm not going to say that Vanderpump Rules completely got recast because of Jo Wenberg and what was done wrong to her. However, I will say that the way that I was introduced to Jo was I have a good friend who's in production on Vanderpump, very high up in production, who told me when she first came on the scene that she was the nicest cast member he ever filmed with, and that you got to know every single crew member's name, and that you helped them carry equipment from the trucks. And I was like immediately in love with you. And then of course you came on the show. You know, you had been on the show like one episode. We didn't hardly know you, and he told me that. So I was like, let me pay attention to this girl. And after that, of course, you blew up the thing. So Jo, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on my little brand new podcast. I'm so honored.
That is by far the best introduction I've ever gotten, like the most genuine introduction, Thea. Literally, like from everything I've been, no one mentions those moments, and honestly, like nailed it. And I love that it went down the system of like your high end, and then they're like, by the way, yeah, and the crew were confused when I would try to help them like carry the sound equipment back. So thank you so much for having me on. How are you?
I'm great. And you know what I was thinking when I was thinking about that introduction was that I think that is such a big part of why so many people love you. I mean, I talk to Bravo fans all day, every day on my Bravo fan page.
Yeah.
Watching.
By the way, love your Instagram, and I just love this new podcast that you're doing, and you are just connected to so many people, and it's just like, I feel honored to be on this.
Well, thank you. Well, yes, I was thinking about what he said about how you got to know everyone's name and how this cast had been on there for 10 seasons when you came on. And I think the reason so many of us connected with you was that you weren't polished like they were. You were not, you were raw. And that would be something that somebody new would come in that's not even, you didn't even know your scope on the show when you first start filming. You think you're going to film a couple scenes, right? And then
100% walked right in. Congratulations for actually starting from the very beginning. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was like, hey, do you want to like quickly like film a scene on Vanderpump Rules show? Because you know they had seen me in season 10 walk out of his apartment, and they caught that on camera. And then season 11, the wind blew and it got caught up, and they were like, oh, Schwartz is hiding this, not hiding, but hiding this woman. And yeah, and then of course all of a sudden 2 hours on a Tuesday went to like, listen, it wasn't like I sat down for like this 2 hour production conversation on like, here's your contract. No, it was like an earthquake hit me, and we need you on a Tuesday for 2 hours, and then a Thursday for like 3 hours. Then it snowballed into, like you just said, it just kind of snowballed into being almost a main character, and then consistently filming, and then doing the 3-part reunion, doing the finale, doing the pickups, doing the interviews. When I was told I was just going to be on like a 2 hour, let's just have you and Schwartz sit at a table and have a chit chat, and like that was easy for us. I forgot your question already.
Well, it goes to show you when you're nice to the crew, you get a bigger role on the show. That's it. They're like, let's film with that girl again. We don't feel like carrying all this heavy equipment around.
Wait, let's film a show because she'll plug that crap. Yeah, no, I literally remember moments where I was like with Sean, and it was the guy who held the boom, and then all the lighting stuff. And then I remember one moment we were walking out of Schwartz's condo, and I was like, this can't be fun, because then they're gonna have to go and probably film another 4 hour scene with somebody else on the show. And I was like, let me help you. So I took out like this little tiny like cardboard, like a cardboard piece of wood, and I just slid it with the heavy equipment. I just like pulled it all the way to the elevator and just like slid it down, and I put in the elevator. And Sean was like, I adore him, from the crew, and he was like, wow, that was easy. I was like, yeah, do you want me to go down with you and help you like slide it back out? We did. Cement doesn't work with cardboard, so we had to like, anyways, it was part of my journey, honestly, was the connection with the crew. They were just, and honestly, just so great. But we weren't allowed to like get their phone numbers. You know, there was that.
You're right. Separation.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I worked obviously in Hollywood for a lot of years. And before I started working in Hollywood, I was working on the second unit crew of Seinfeld. So I was outside every day. all day long. I shot all the buildings for that show. But what's funny is I had a boyfriend for 22 years, and he always told me that the happiest he ever saw me was when I was like outside crewing it, like lugging cords
We're
around.
the same. That's why we also became friends, because I was like, this woman is either, well, you reminded me kind of like a kaleidoscope, because you were immediately from day one, you were like, this woman has, it's like you accepted me as like a rabid, like, let's just say, I don't know, this is how I think, neurodivergence, but I think it's
Rabid's
like a
good.
person that's like, wow, like this is whatever. But I feel like you and I connected, and like you saw me from day one. You were like, this girl is navigating this world eyes wide open, and forgetting that there's a glam squad option.
That would be me, 100%.
Yes.
100%. I mean, I try, but you know.
And I think that that's why I like you, because it's almost like you have this authenticity. Sorry, I'm just going to do a little bit of a thing, but it's like the underpreparedness that I had filming Vanderpump Rules was, I think, think about it. That's the authentic way to show a reality TV show. And I feel like you would have done the same thing, right? Like
Right.
underprepared, right? And then and just going for it. And I think that that was something I wasn't a seasoned cast member, so I think you and I would have, we should just have our own show. Like it would just be
well,
like
well, this is our own show. But you know what? That's why so many fans connected with you, because they have. I think, of course, we were all fans of whoever on the show. You have your favorites and people you either pro Ariana, anti Ariana, whatever.
totally.
But I think so, and I think that's what you were up against as well when you came on the show as the other woman to Katie, the next in line. No matter who was coming after Katie, you were going to have an issue with some fans, Katie fans, of course. They've been watching her for 10 seasons.
Keep going. You're so spot on. Yes. Yes.
So here you come, and no, for better or for worse. And then, but there's so many layers here, because you were Kristen's best friend for years.
Yes,
Kristen,
for years.
Now everyone's obsessed with on the Valley. Well, hi guys. Here's Kristen's best friend, who I could be having on the show for that reason alone. Like, knows where all of the bodies are buried. Is not going to say them, by the way. And
I will not.
Huge props to you. Huge props to you.
Thank you. I was literally just thinking about this. Like, I was just thinking about how much like I know so much about every specific moment that had happened, and the and having, I'm just gonna say, like, having moments where I just was like, okay, I'm not gonna put this on HD international television for viewing pleasure. I'm gonna keep this inside because I want to protect my friends. Little did I know, it doesn't go the same way.
Well, the thing is, too, that you have absolutely no reason to be loyal to Kristen anymore. She's not your friend anymore.
Right.
A lot of them have said very not nice things about you. So a lot of other people would have a podcast by now where you're literally just spilling the guts and the tea of Vanderpump, of the Valley. You would have like a million different things going on to make that money, just like every single cast member did after Sandoval, which is why Tom Sandoval took issue with a lot of them, which is, wow, you guys just ran out and capitalized on my grief and my scandal. And totally. Here comes Joe, who knew about it before. I mean, you literally were in Big Bear with Rachel and Schwartz and Sandoval. This is like before anybody knew. Before. But that's also a reason why some people take issue with you. And this is one thing where I kind of understand, which is why you didn't tell anybody else, because your loyalty was with Schwartz and with, I guess, with Sandoval at that point.
Oh yeah,
he was your friend, right?
It wasn't, and at that moment I wasn't like, I like, for some reason when you're in love, what T Money and Joseph were actually in love. He said it to me multiple times. You're not really worried about what Ariana or what anybody's doing. It's a very weird thing, because throughout the whole process, I hate saying process, but it's crazy how much I know. I connected with Raquel individually. Like, I loved her spirit, and I knew that she was just a really, I know people are gonna be like, ah! But I think when it comes down to it, like, we developed a connection before filming like had even started. So
Right. So you already had a connection where you were not going to betray her regardless.
it wasn't betrayal. It wasn't that. It was more of I didn't know what was actually going on with Ariana and Tom Sandoval. It was
Oh,
more
right.
of right. It was more in that moment. You know, you're like, let me think about this when they do the interviews on. You're like, wait, and then you have to like remember, catch back up. Okay, was I in that particular hurricane situation or that earthquake? I don't remember, but I remember that with Raquel, we kept our friendship very separate, and then when Schwartz and I were together, Raquel was one of the people that knew about to the T. I did her podcast, I don't know, a year ago, and she was like,
Right.
girl, I was witnessing the fact that he like was in love with you. And I was like, she would say it, and everyone else didn't.
You were like,
sorry.
I'm not crazy. This actually
I'm
happened.
not crazy.
I have a witness.
I have a witness. I have multiple witnesses. Like it's not even just like a thing where I think I just got totally love bombed. And then also like, for example, like I think that and I'll just say how I'm doing right now, you know me, I'm like all over the place. And how I'm doing right now is like a kaleidoscope of like some days I am able to like turn the page. Some days I'm still stuck trying to like reread a chapter, you know, and think about the person that I, you know, wish I could just like laugh about, you know, naming inanimate objects and walking around. Like I'm talking about T Money. And like
Right.
I shared all these moments with him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, can't even talk to him because he blocked me.
Well, that's the thing. People say move on. And this is not about moving on from romance. You did that a long time ago. It's about moving on from a huge betrayal and from being gaslit and from being made to look and think, because you know you second guess yourself. We all do it. To think you're crazy and think, wait, did I imagine this? Right. Like, what is going on right now? I was in something, now I wasn't in something. What? And that is what's hard to get on from. That is because you're questioning yourself. It's one thing if you question someone else. Let's say he cheated on you like Sandoval did. Well, fine, I hate him. We're done, right? Rachel's moved on. She's doing her sound bath. She's
right. 100.
But for you, it's the questioning oneself, thinking, was I in too deep? Did I not protect myself? All that stuff is so complicated, and that's what's hard to move on from, because now you want to ostensibly at some point get into another relationship. You don't want to make the same mistakes. You don't want to choose the wrong person. So all of this is the healing process. So if you want to post 7,000 reels of you and Schwartz, just if only for yourself to say this occurred, I'm not crazy, not even for it, because I feel like you do a lot of stuff for yourself online and other people take it like, oh, Joe's putting this out there. I think you sometimes forget people are even watching, right? Isn't that kind of how you operate? Like you're just in your own head, and then you and then it gets realized.
It's just the way I am. Yeah, I'm in my own head. Like it's just the way I am. I was like, look, this was a beautiful moment that we had together. These are the moments that we had together. I was almost gonna post another reel about it, but of course everyone would be like up in arms about, oh my gosh, she's got ADHD, she's crazy, she just posts these random things. And I'm thinking, wait a second, this was 2.5 years of my life, if not longer, that I had known this man.
Right. And this wasn't like Lexi and Jesse on Summer House where they were in a 4-month relationship, and that girl's on freaking Nick Viall on like every huge show right now.
I know, and I didn't even get to go and watch What Happens Live. Like, what's up?
Like, tell her to move on. What the heck? Well, I will tell you something I saw today that I felt was slightly validating. I saw this. There's this podcast called Virtual Reality. It's like a video blog that Bravo does. And Schwartz went on it, and it was
Virtual Reality.
Yeah, they put this
Look how old school I am. Let me write it down.
Virtual Reality, TEA. Put this
You always know everything. I love you. Okay.
But I believe it's a screenshot from the after show. But here it is. Mia says, we handle stuff in our marriage, cameras on or cameras off behind closed doors. She's talking
Mia
about
from the Valley.
Yeah. So
she really, okay, go on. Yeah.
She's obviously referring to the fact that people are saying, oh, you act like your life's perfect, but your marriage isn't perfect. And she says, well, we actually handle our marriage like sometimes cameras on, sometimes cameras off behind closed doors. And Schwartz replies, see, I used to do the opposite, shame in public and love in private. And I felt like that was 100% of a shout out to you, Joe, by saying, remember, because he shamed you, but he did love you. And I could be completely wrong. I could be wrong, but I know exactly. And then right afterwards, he says, I shouldn't have said that. And I'm like, could we possibly finally be to the point where we're reflecting and saying like, I might have really hurt this person by diminishing what we had, and that's it. Like, you can move on, you can be out of love, you can go on in your life, but to diminish what you had when you had it, that to me is the sharpest of arrows. And I wonder if that was it, don't you think?
Oh, that suddenly just intrigued my brain back to moments of, wait a second, this just came out.
Yes, well, it was from the after show, which aired last night, so they were posting it this morning. So
Oh,
it
got it.
filmed
And
probably a
I
few
didn't
months
know
ago.
that he was on the Valley because,
Right.
well, of course, he's blocked me on Instagram and also over the phone, which is so bizarre to me. I still have no reason. But I think that that is a chapter that he's just like, I think he's just like a little, like he's, wait, that's it. That's mind blowing to me because
I mean, shame in public, love in private. He couldn't be talking about Katie because they loved in public. I have to think he means you, and I
I
really
have to think the same because it's very clear that him and Katie are on very good terms, considering that she was his first podcast. By the way, Retox Detox. I really feel like it doesn't make sense to me, but I definitely agree with you. I think that there's definitely something underlying there. And here's the thing with T Money is that, you know, his commitment level is a level 1 out of 10. We've seen this throughout the years. And then, of course, I'm blamed because I was loved behind cameras and then not on camera.
right.
And
So you look like you're delusional.
it
That's
looks
what.
like I'm
Right.
delusional when, as we saw in the reunion, the girls were like, wait a second. And do you remember, really quickly, do you remember the one moment where Andy asked me a question? He was like, do you regret something and whatever? And I remember Schwartz was like looking at me like daggers, and
Ready,
I
like, don't you say it. Don't say it.
and I listened to like what he was saying, and I was like, no, I don't know, I don't regret. And then Lala was like, wait a second, you have to. It's like minute number 43, part 2 of the reunion. I don't know what it is. And I remember being like, I regret that so much because at the end of the day, like at that point, it was like face to face after, you know, we had just gotten dinner, and then all of a sudden he has a new girlfriend. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. And then it does make sense to me that I think he's listening to people that are who have, including Jax, I think, who have been very negative towards me, who don't
Right.
know me.
Right.
And I think that there would have been a really, really good connection that would have been consistent with him if there were not cameras on. I mean, it was, the crew saw it. Like we would just be like, "Wah!" And then like the cameras would roll, and then so I guess I think that, I don't know. I think that it's interesting to see that the way that him and I would operate on camera was not set up. It was like they were like, just do you. And like that isn't that
Right.
1/3 of like loving a human being. And then like the other part is like we didn't care what we looked at like we loved each other's outfits. I know I'm going on a da, but I think I probably missed the episode where, you know, somebody was wearing a hat and didn't get interrogated, by the way. Because a lot of people on this, like everyone was wearing a hat. I'm sorry, this is my neurodivergence, like going on a tangent.
Let
We're
me
bringing
just
it
tell you,
back.
one of the other reasons I connected with Jo so quickly is that I had heard her saying that she had ADHD, she was neurodivergent, and I have a son who has ADHD, he's only 8. However, he's Jo at 8 as a little boy. He is,
Ah,
because he jumps all around. I mean, you've met him on FaceTime before.
I have, and I love him.
Yeah, so I connect with her on that too, because I think, so in part people think you're quote unquote crazy because Tom made you look crazy, because he made it look like you took a tiny little thing and made it into this big, like you're obsessed with him, addicted to him, all these crazy
Yeah,
things.
let's be real about that one, by the way. Like, at the end of the day, really quickly, the whole me obsessed with Tom thing was absolutely, totally nothing, nothing between Schwartz and I. It was everybody around the situation. I did not have a massive platform of people to follow me and like little minions, and I wasn't on Reddit. And then it wasn't a lot of me following him. It was a lot of him calling Joseph and us hanging out more and more after I couch surfed. So that was not, that's normal. And then when we caught feelings, I think that's when the cameras were starting to roll, and they
Right.
kept bringing me back in and wanting to do things with us on camera. And in the Bravo universe, like it's very like you're not supposed to be like a humble person, but I was like, look, this is. And so the more we filmed, I remember the less he gave to the cameras, but then he would give it to the cameras on his interviews when I wasn't there.
Right. Well,
So
the thing
he
is,
he's
it's like when you're in high school, let's just say like a popular boy in high school dates like a theater girl and he's hiding her and all that stuff. So it's all that. But I honestly think part of the reason it seems like you're obsessed is because afterwards, not that you were trying to like get back with Schwartz, but you were trying to prove that what he said about you was not true. And I would want to do that. I would want everyone to know the truth. You admitted to your shortcomings, you admitted to your faults, all that stuff.
totally.
And you weren't one of the popular kids on that show. They'd been on 10 years. They were so polished. They were so glam. They're so popular. They have
Totally.
millions of followers, millions of
Yep.
fans. And here you come. And not to mention, like I said before, even if the girl that Schwartz replaced Katie with, which is who you were, like it or not, fans, this is the next girl after Katie.
Yeah.
No one was going to like her. No one on the cast was going to like her. You think Ariana and Katie were going to be nice to anybody who came after Katie? Those girls are the classic mean girls. They love to hate people. They love to gang up on people. They love to be bitchy and snotty because their fan base loves that too. They love when like the girls are bitchy. So all of that, you're coming into all of that. It was like, literally like a losing game for you, honestly.
Oh, it was a losing game for me. And I actually didn't even ask for it. You know, at the end of the day,
Right.
like it wasn't a matter of me being like, oh my gosh, I want to come in here. I want to like punch all these bitches, all these whatever. No, I was like, actually, Lala was the nicest to me. She gave me total, like, she was like, hey.
Which is crazy because she's arguably one of the toughest people on that show too.
I know, and I'll give you a little
warm up
sneak
to.
thing here. And there was a moment where I remember one of the producers had contacted me and said, hey, we think that we need you to have to talk to one of the women on the show about like your relationship with Schwartz.
Right.
They had suggested Sheena. I said, no way.
Oh my God.
Because I even though she was so nice to me at the reunion, but whatever. I said every time I had met Lala in the past, she's a straight shooter. So if you want me to actually sit down with one of these women, I want a person that's not going to be petty like Katie, not going to be whatever gossipy like Sheena, and then Ariana absolutely was obviously off the table. And I said, look, I really think Lala kind of has this badass attitude of like her experience in life. She's lost her, like, I mean, we connected on a lot of things. And that's where you see the hot dog scene where we're eating hot dogs. And I said, I want to do a one-on-one with Lala. And gave me, to this day, one of the favorite things that she ever did was she was the first one to give me grace. And she was also the first one to say, like, look, you guys, we don't really remember this moment, but when I walked out of Schwartz's apartment, like that one time, and I was like, I want to call my dad. And then I also had told Allie that, like, I want to find somebody like my father. And Schwartz reminds me of my father.
Right.
And then at the hat gate, Lala was like, whoa, 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 we cannot be talking about that stuff. Like, because they're basically saying that I'm incestual with my, and it was so messed up. And I was like,
no, that is a 100% valid psychological. We're all looking for our dads. I'm sorry. Our husbands, our boyfriends, they all have characteristics of the first man we ever loved. Come on. That is not incestual. It is just a fact.
Right. And then the immediate response was when Allie had said that at that little top table at the James's little DJ thing when Sheena took my hat off. I was sitting across and I was just like, I can hear everything. This is so irritating. Why would you ever say this about my father? And Lala and I had spoken previously about like how our fathers, hers is obviously passed, but you know, I don't want to go into the personal stuff with my dad, but at the end of the day, like I love him so much, health issues, whatever. And then when Allie said that, Lala shut it down because Kate was like, that's weird. And I was like, it's an age old thing to say that you want, especially if you have a beautiful, wonderful father. I get it if you don't. But those are my words. So like that, there's a couple things that pissed me off a little bit about that. But that wasn't edited. That was a legit combo. And Lala was like, hey, not going there. And I was like, yes, after I watched it.
Thank God for that. Well, let me ask you now, what is next for Joe?
I'm looking into doing some more. I would love to do some more reality TV. I think it'd be great to do a fun whatever. I mean, I also think there's a good chance that like I think I might want to write a book with your help.
We have talked before about a book because I will tell you guys, Joe is a little writer. Like you write a lot. It's amazing. You know how they
I
say
do.
between someone who isn't a writer and a writer is that a writer writes? Well, you're writing. I
Oh yeah.
mean, you do a lot of journaling. You've taken down notes on this entire situation in your life, but also your childhood, and it's fascinating. So I think a book from you could really help a lot of people. Like I said, people don't want to admit this; they love to hate you, but you have a strong, and I'm sure you know this, fan base. People who ride for you ride hard for you, and yeah,
I know.
maybe it isn't 5 million people, but I'm sorry if you have 100,000 fans, which you have more of, but I'm just saying, like, that's a lot of people. Can you imagine
Yeah.
100,000 people walking by you in the school cafeteria saying,
Totally.
"Hey, Joe"?
Totally. And like I was popular in high school. I guess I peaked then. I don't know what happened. But at the end of the day,
I
like
was not, so I don't know how we're friends, but okay.
but
No,
I just
I
feel like
wasn't
it would be
unpopular.
really
I could hang with anyone. I feel like you might have been the same way. I could be
that was actually
friends with
exactly this.
popular people, friends with weird people, friends with the jocks, friends with the theater people. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. And like at the end of the day, it's like I feel like there should be like the other day my therapist was like, "Ugh, I just figured it out that you're neurodivergent. And I was like, but she didn't say it like, hey, she was like, hey, I think that you're neurodivergent. And I think I took it as like, oh my gosh, she thinks I'm crazy. At the end of the day, it was more of like a hey, ding, ding, ding. Can I swear, mother
This
effer?
explains everything,
She
right?
was like, this finally explains why you're playing life literally like on expert mode instead of everyone else getting like the tutorial. Like you're already like, you know what I mean? And like, I think that it's like the neurodivergent brain is like a sports car that has all the gadgets and things and whatever. And like, it's very mysterious to others, but for us, it's like we don't even need the manual and we just go. So in some social situations, either either going to talk about like a passion of mine that like involves like how aardvarks like poop like 2 times a day, or I'm just going to completely forget how words work, which you saw obviously on the show, and people are going to be literally left remembering me as like, did we just speak her same language or is she psychotic? And it's
Well,
just
A,
those
they
things.
remember you, so that's big. Well, it's so funny because my son the other day put a sign on his door. It said, "I hate ADHD. I wish it would go away forever." And I was like heartbroken. And I told him, like, it makes you special. It's all the bright colors. You're more interesting. Like,
Totally. And it's
on
just
and
the
on
way that
about.
our brains work. We are a unique breed. ADHD, like, it's like when I do those things where I was like, doing the like the Joe bot in the moment. That's I've done that my whole life, and that's just me buffering before responding. Where other people are like silently contemplating like
Stimming.
their next
It's
words.
it's
I'm
stimming.
like they're like trying to like solve quantum physics, and in my mind, I'm over here like doing like an interpretive dance because I don't know. That's just like my thought process, and then
no,
the noises
they
I make and things like that. That's literally the sound of my brain thoughts switching gears. Didn't understand the people like weren't, and especially people like Katie who are actually very like poised, cool, collected, and then say
right.
something. It was definitely like it was a different situation. So like I think the world does deserve a manual of like who I am and how I got caught on international television. And I don't know, it's like it's unauthorized ADHD Bravo edition, kind of like coming to a bookshelf near you, but it's gonna be in between self-help and what the fuck just happened. Like
No, when you do this stuff, it's called stimming. If you have autism, my son also has autism, but it's also for ADHD, it's self-regulating. So you're getting yourself back to the mode where it's okay, people mode now. And
yes.
and when I first saw you on the show, and then and saw how people were making fun of you and what they were making you fun of you for, that's when I made my first post about you. I was like, wait a minute, I think we're mocking like I hate to use this word, but disability. We're mocking something about
They
her that's
were
different,
big
and that
time.
is not fair. Like, think of other things, her behavior, her actions. You don't like that she came in after Katie. You don't like whatever. She didn't tell Ariana, whatever you don't like, fine. Like, fair, but you're gonna
Yeah.
make fun of the fact that her brain is wired differently. That's crazy.
I think that is actually why Tom Schwartz and I got connected so quickly, so well. It was because we were very similar, very connected. Our emotions are kind of like like multiplying and and our thoughts would just kind of like, there would be moments where we would just, so it was really grateful to have him through my experience. Well, then of course afterwards, seeing how it did play out, that he is a seasoned like, I didn't
Right.
see that. I saw the Tom Schwartz that was the happiest, and I've seen this on polls, and Andy Cohen even said it, like, he has never seen Tom Schwartz happier than when we filmed season 11, because
No,
we made sure
100%.
that he was okay, and I made sure that like there were boundaries set for him, and I went through his whole family thing together, and he helped me with that too, and he was just so happy. And
Remember, and you used to be so close to the sister, like best friends with the sister. And I'm sorry, whatever any of you want to say, if somebody's best friends with your sister, this is not someone who's treating him badly, because the sister wouldn't have been close with you. And of course, like everything else, all of these things were byproducts afterwards of the fallout, which is like pick a side and whatever. And horribly, it all went horribly for you. But the point is, now you've grown from it. We've all gotten to know you. You're memorable. I'm sorry, whatever anyone has to say, you're never going to forget Joe. I don't care what you said. Vanderpump Rules, Joe Wenberg. It's always going to be in people's memories. So I can't wait to see what you do next. I'll help you with the book. Well, I honestly do think Joe has a story to tell you guys. And so stay tuned.
I do. I have a quick little story to tell you guys. Okay, at the end of the day, here's the thing. When you are in a position where you're dating a person, and it gets okay, so then it gets blasted all over the place. Okay, great, lovely. And then I find out today that he's basically saying the same thing, where he loves privately, but then does this whatever, and then he's
shames publicly.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I think when and I'll say this wholeheartedly, I do have still feelings for him, because we did not end on like pick a number. We didn't even have an ending. Like, it
Right.
was bye, sayonara, reunion done, and then block, block, block. Okay. That's number one, really hard for a human being to express. And so then when you're around somebody who's just your person, and then flipping it to the cameras, it's very difficult. Like, people ask me all the time, like, how am I doing? It depends on the day. I think I've said this, but going forward, I think that we do need to express that, like, I know so much about, like, more than people even think that they want me to know. I do think though it would be better to do something where, like, we write a book about, like, just like how I've been dealing with everything, and also being broken up on international television. I'm sorry again. What was the question, Thea? I'm sorry.
All I want to say is I can't wait to see what you do next. A lot of people are rooting for you. You have a strong fan base. Maybe they're not huge, but they're mighty, because anyone
They're mighty
on the internet, they run.
I love them so much.
Right. So I don't care what anyone else says. I have you
Yeah.
on here because I honestly respect you, and I honestly do believe that I know exactly why you did almost everything you did. So I don't even need to ask you about most of it, because I already know the reason.
Yeah.
And I feel like people love you, and I'm really excited to see all the things you're going to do. Joe, honestly, this is the very beginning for you, the very beginning for you. I really believe that.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm really are we wrapping up right now?
Yes, we're wrapping. What do you
Wrap. I have like 15 things I want to talk about. Ooh, can I tell you one scandalous thing real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So, when we were filming the episode of sorry, let me think about this. It was the scene where Tom Schwartz and I were getting food and drinks, and we're playing it was the one where we were both like
Right.
I was wearing a black baseball cap. I don't know, it was a scene where we were having dinner at a bar. You know what, I'll give you another one. Okay. Schwartz and I were filming the scene where Charlie, my turtle, came up. Okay, this is a good one. Do you remember when we were like paddle boating in the? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's this thing where they mic us up, and then the directors were just like, hey, just like do you guys, like, because every time it was always just like the camera would shake because like the camera guys would just laugh at us the whole time because like we were just ourselves. So we were walking down this like platform to get onto the paddle boat to go and paddle board around and so when he brought up like, so who are you dating and what's going on, blindsided, right? Blindsided. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, we're going on a date tonight. So what? So that was hilarious. And also,
wow, and that's on camera. That is on camera. So here you go, Joe. How would you like to do the postmortem of our relationship right now on the spot when you didn't have closure, when you don't even ever know where you stand with him, and you have to define it probably in a sentence or two right now, like moved on. I'm done.
exactly, exactly. And then let me just tell you this too. 3 days later, we filmed the like green, yellow, red wristband situation. And in the Uber on the way there, which was not filmed, we both were like, we're putting on red. We get there and he slaps on a green one saying that he's single. And then he kisses that girl. By the way, she was hired and he did a quick peck. And
No, no, no.
then what you don't see is that I didn't run away. Like I was so sad that he kissed this girl at the singles night. I actually had to leave because I had a family emergency back home. And he ran after me and was like, Joe, are you okay? And I was like, no, I can't. I slept at his house that night and we talked about it. Like there's these things that like you don't understand. Like, and then when Sheena did the podcast with Tom or with Schwartzy in his apartment, I think it was season 11, and he was like, no, we've never hooked up. We hooked up all the time. And I was in the other bedroom listening. I was like hiding in the bathroom. I was like, what?
I mean, it's so obvious when the show is airing and after the show that like more went on that we all know. I mean, there's editing, there's also protecting the other cast members, right? Like the production has to favor Katie and Ariana in their way.
Totally.
They're not
Totally.
going to show the big romance. But come on, anyone with a brain can see how you reacted, how the other cast members especially reacted at the reunion, where almost everyone ultimately had your back. And they're not your friends. They didn't need to stick up for you. But the bottom line is the truth was the truth. And that is all that matters.
It's sad for me to know that like the one person that I literally could go through like a hurricane with, the one person that I
Didn't have your back.
Did not have my back. And it's weird that Katie apologized. It's amazing. It's like at the end of the day, like I just wish that Schwartz would just unblock me and we could just be friends again at the end of the day.
I know you need closure, Joe. Well, we'll get you closure.
I do.
When your book is a bestseller and you're on every morning show promoting it, and Schwartz called you up and is like, okay, maybe I might have missed
block.
No, block. Okay, I love you. We'll talk again soon. I'll have you back on.
Yes, love you too, babe.
Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye, Joe.